The man is shocked to discover that gods truly exist in this world, and that by offering up his own eyes, a god will grant any wish he desires, even a wish as impossible as bringing the dead back to life. But what he never expected was that this wish would entangle an innocent girl. A few days earlier, Asuna was on her way home after school. Suddenly, a monster appeared right in front of her. It opened its blood-filled jaws and lunged straight at her. A boy burst out of nowhere and saved her. Clutching a glass pendant, he charged at the monster. Although he managed to injure it, he was no match for its overwhelming power. Before long, the boy was gravely wounded and collapsed. At the critical moment, a blinding light burst forth from his pendant. The monster, bathed in that light, was instantly blown apart. When Asuna woke up again, night had already fallen. For reasons she couldn't explain, the boy felt strangely familiar to her. But before she could ask him anything, he hurriedly left. Leaving with him was a small cat. This was the very cat Asuna had found and taken in a few days earlier. By sheer coincidence, the cat's owner turned out to be the boy who had saved her. This only deepened Asuna's curiosity about his identity. So the next day, she eagerly returned to that same place. Luckily, the boy hadn't left. Asuna helped clean his wounds, and the two gradually grew closer. The boy's name was Shun. He came from a land called Agartha. Although Asuna had never heard of such a place, she didn't press him for details. She took out a radio she had built herself and invited Shun to listen to music with her. Then Asuna told him about a mysterious voice she once heard. A voice that made her feel happy. A voice that made her feel she was not alone. So she kept that voice deep in her heart. She wanted to hear it again. Shun frowned, because he knew that the mysterious voice she described was his own. But Shun gave no response, because he knew his life was already nearing its end. However, what Asuna never expected was that Shun would gently kiss her on the forehead. After hastily saying goodbye, Asuna left with her face burning in embarrassment. From that day on, Shun's image lingered in Asuna's heart. Yet after that encounter, she never saw Shun again. Gradually, Asuna returned to her ordinary routine, until one day, the sudden arrival of a substitute teacher once again changed her life. The new male teacher was named Ryuji, and from him, Asuna learned of a legendary underground world called Agartha. According to legend, deep within Agartha stood a gate of life and death, capable of reviving the dead. Hearing this, Asuna was stunned, because she remembered Shun mentioning that his hometown was called Agartha. So after school, Asuna took the initiative to seek out Ryuji and explained her reasons. Ryuji then handed her an illustrated book. Inside it, Asuna saw the very monster that had attacked her that day. Ryuji explained that these creatures were ancient beings. They had once been guardians of humanity. After guiding humans through their most difficult early years, they led a small group of people into the underground world. Over time, exposure to surface pollution caused them to lose their sanity, driving them into violent madness and turning them into monsters that now threatened humanity. Asuna began to believe that Shun likely came from Agartha. However, she chose not to tell Ryuji any of this. On her way home, the small cat appeared once again. Following its guidance, Asuna saw that familiar light once more. She remembered it clearly. It was the glow from Shun's pendant. She ran with all her strength toward the back mountain. At last, Asuna saw the boy she had longed for day and night. But to her shock, he looked at her with cold indifference, as if he didn't recognize her at all. The boy told her plainly that Shun was already dead. At that very moment, a helicopter suddenly rose up from the edge of the cliff. Appearing alongside it were three fully armed mysterious figures. They forced the boy to hand over the pendant, but the boy grabbed Asuna and leapt off the cliff with her in his arms. He brought Asuna to a cave, then sealed the entrance with a massive boulder. After that, he led her deeper into the cave at full speed. But deep within the cave, they once again encountered the same monster. From the illustrated book, the boy raised the pendant in his hand, trying to awaken the monster. Unexpectedly, the monster suddenly went berserk. The boy hurriedly handed the necklace to Asuna and began fighting the monster head-on. His combat skills were extraordinary. With just a few moves, he knocked the creature to the ground. But in the very next moment, He was sent flying by a powerful tail strike. At the critical moment, the three mysterious figures arrived and effortlessly subdued the monster. Under their threats, Asuna had no choice but to hand over the pendant. One of the mysterious men led Asuna to a barrier. Using the power of the necklace, he broke the seal and opened the gate to the underground world. But just then, this man suddenly turned his gun on his own companions. Then he took Asuna hostage and entered the so-called underground world. He had expected a fierce battle to follow, but strangely, the mysterious man threw his gun to the ground and removed his mask. This man was none other than Riji. His purpose in coming to Agartha was to resurrect his deceased wife, Rissa. After reclaiming the pendant, the boy finally revealed his true identity. His name was Shin. He was Shun's twin brother. It turned out that Shun had long been suffering from a terminal illness. His only wish was simply to see the surface world he had always dreamed of. After Shin left, Ryuji apologized to Asuna. Because of his own selfish desire, he had dragged her into all of this. But when Asuna learned that Agartha could bring the dead back to life, she decided to follow Ryuji onward, because she still wanted to see Shun one more time. So the two of them walked together into the Veda water. This ancient liquid was extremely unusual. It offered almost no buoyancy at all, yet humans could breathe freely within it. When Asuna opened her eyes again, they had already arrived in the legendary Agartha. Yet this place was nothing like the underground world they had imagined. It was a vast wilderness, brimming with life, and high above the horizon, a floating ship hovered in the sky. Ryuji stood there in awe, because he knew this was the legendary vessel said to carry the gods. As long as they followed it, they would eventually reach the gate of life and death. Ryuji was completely absorbed, until a sudden glow emerged from Asuna's pocket. It turned out that the mineral inside the radio Asuna had built was the same Gevi's divine stone as the pendant, and this stone was precisely the key to opening the gate of life and death. Ryuji urged Asuna to keep it safe at all costs, and just like that, the two of them embarked on this fantastical journey. Meanwhile, after returning to his village, Shin was assigned a new mission by the chief. That mission was to retrieve the Gevi's divine stone from Asuna. Shin said nothing. He mounted a fast horse and immediately gave chase. At the same time, Asuna had already been targeted by two shadow beasts. These creatures were manifestations of Agartha's negative energy. Taking advantage of her sleep, they abducted her. The next day, Asuna woke up and immediately sensed something was wrong. Imprisoned alongside her was a small girl. Just then, the little girl suddenly screamed. From the shadows, a group of shadow beasts slowly crawled out, holding the girl in her arms. Asuna was at a complete loss. But suddenly, she noticed something important. Those shadow beasts were extremely afraid of sunlight. Asuna immediately picked up the girl, trying to carry her up the steps above. At that moment, Shin arrived just in time and rescued both of them. But the shadow beasts did not give up. They quickly caught up again. The three of them could only run toward the sunlight, but the sunlight was already fading away. In desperation, Shin led them and jumped into the raging river. But just as they were about to climb ashore, the shadow beasts appeared once more and struck Shin unconscious. Asuna immediately dove into the turbulent water to search for Shin. Luckily, Ryuji discovered them, but when Shin woke up and saw Riji, he launched an attack without hesitation. In his injured state, Shin was no match for Riji at all. Ryuji had no intention of getting involved any further, but Asuna was resolute. No matter where she went, she would take Shin with her. Left with no choice, Ryuji finally agreed. Soon, they came upon a village, but their arrival sparked the villagers' hostility. For reasons unknown, the people of Agartha deeply despised outsiders like them. It was only when the little girl's grandfather spoke up that the guards reluctantly agreed to let them enter the village. From the old man's words, Asuna and Ryushi finally learned the whole truth. Over countless centuries, the kings of the surface world had continuously plundered Agartha in pursuit of power. As a result, the entire underground world was nearly reduced to ruins. In the end, they were forced to unite their entire race to seal off the passage between the two worlds. That night, Ryuji kept asking about ways to revive the dead. The old man understood Riji's obsession. Mourning the dead was not wrong, What was wrong was being unable to escape one's grief. And even more so, dragging an innocent girl like Asuna into it for the sake of that obsession. The old man's words filled Riji with guilt. Even so, he still couldn't bring himself to give up this chance. Having no other option, the old man pointed them in the right direction. Shin stayed behind to recover from his injuries, and did not go with them. In the end, Asuna and Ryuji once again set out on the road toward the gate of life and death. At that very moment, a group of guards was already chasing after them in their direction. Shin quickly realized the guards' true objective. He knew all too well what these people were capable of. Without the slightest hesitation, he swung himself onto a horse and chased after them. Before long, the guards caught up with Asuna and Rishi. But just then, Shin arrived. This time, Shin chose to help them. He believed that people from the surface world were not all bad. At the very least, Asuna was kind. With Shin covering for them, Ryuji and Asuna soon reached the final destination of their journey, the massive abyss of Agartha. And beneath it lay the gate of life and death. But at this final moment, Asuna faltered. She knew she could never climb down such a sheer cliff. With no other choice, Ryuji decided to go down alone. He traded his handgun for Asuna's Gavis divine stone. Then, without hesitation, he began his descent. Meanwhile, Asuna was once again targeted by the shadow beasts. She panicked and ran into the river. The shadow beasts, afraid of water, followed her slowly along the riverbank. Exhausted and unable to run any farther, she collapsed to the ground, completely unaware that she was standing in shallow water. The shadow beasts swarmed forward at once and seized Asuna. At the critical moment, Shin once again saved her, and as the sun rose, the shadow beasts were forced to retreat back into the darkness. As the two spoke, the ship that carried the gods slowly drifted closer. Shin realized that its course led straight toward the gate of life and death, which meant that Riji had already reached the bottom of the abyss. Worried that Riji might be in danger, Asuna and Shin sought help from an ancient creature. The creature swallowed them whole in a single bite, and leapt straight into the abyss. At the same time, the ship had already arrived above Ryuji. As it descended, Ryuji realized in horror that the ship itself was the god's true form. The god told Riji that it could grant him one wish. Without hesitation, Ryuji spoke the desire he had buried deep within his heart. He wished for his beloved Risa to be brought back to life. At the same moment, Asuna and Shin finally arrived at the gate of life and death, and entered the realm of the gods together. Asuna ran toward Riji with all her strength, because she had learned from Shin that resurrecting the dead required a terrible price. But by then, the resurrection ritual had already begun, and the most crucial step in reviving the dead was the need for a physical body to house the soul. Asuna's arrival gave Ryuji hope. He decided to use Asuna's body to contain Risa's soul. Shin rushed forward and held Asuna tightly. Asuna awakened, but her voice had become that of Ryuji's deceased wife. Risa kept calling out Ryuji's name. Just as Ryuji, overwhelmed with joy, ran toward Risa, the god suddenly took his right eye. His remaining left eye was nearly blinded as well. This was the price required to revive the dead. Even so, Ryuji had no regrets, because reviving his wife was the sole obsession that had kept him alive all this time. Meanwhile, Shin lunged toward the Gavis divine stone nearby. As long as he destroyed it before the ritual was complete, everything could still be undone. He wanted to save Asuna. Seeing this, Ryuji pulled out a dagger, intending to kill Shin. But the guilt buried deep in his heart made it impossible for him to strike. Ignoring his own life, Shin used every ounce of his strength to smash the Gavis divine stone. As the stone shattered, Risa, deprived of its power, said caution. She gently caressed her beloved. Though their reunion was brief, being able to see Riji once more left her with no regrets. She told Riji to go and seek happiness. With those words, she disappeared. As the ritual came to a complete end, Risa turned back into Asuna. Everything returned to the way it had been, except for Riji, who once again experienced the pain of losing his wife. He fell to his knees, weeping uncontrollably, calling his wife's name over and over. At that moment, Ryuji completely lost the will to live. He begged Shin to kill him. Just then, Asuna woke up. She held no resentment toward Ryuji. She simply wrapped her arms around him. Asuna's forgiveness awakened Riji. He decided to honor his wife's final wish and seek happiness. Asuna knew that Shrun's smile had long been etched into the wind, drifting through the wheat fields, as if he were still by her side, softly saying, "I'm so glad I met you." It turns out that the gentlest kind of farewell is never about holding on to someone's presence, but about carrying their love with you and continuing to walk forward. We always think reunion requires crossing mountains and seas, yet we forget that the best reunion of all is becoming the person they most hoped you would be.